Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another product spotlight. Today I have Chad Yanchycki from FP Genetics. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Tracy.
Good. I'm so happy to have you back on the show to do another product spotlight. Today we're going to be talking about FP Genetics Hybrid Fall Rye. So I'm excited about this. Before we dive in and talk all about this product, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and your role at FP Genetics?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Chad Yanchycki, sales manager with FP Genetics. I've been with the company for coming on, I guess, 6 years. It's about 5.5 years now. Been a territory manager in the role in the past, and more recently into the sales manager role. So work closely with our territory managers and product specialists here across Western Canada.
Okay, excellent. Thanks. So we are talking all about hybrid fall rye. And I know FP Genetics, you guys were the first to introduce hybrid fall rye in Canada back about 2014, I believe. So my question and what I wanted to start off with, how has that early leadership shaped the rye industry today? And what have you guys learned? What's some of the biggest lessons since then?
Yeah, I bringing hybrid rye to Canada was a big venture for our company, and it took a lot of time and a lot of money and trialing and making sure that we could adapt here to Canada. I think if you look at just the climate we have in Canada, it's very, very diverse. Even going just from Manitoba to Alberta, right? So, looking at different geographies, how it fits in soil types, how it fits in our Canadian winters when you're trying to make a plant survive, and the -30, -40 winters we have. So. Just a lot of that added adaptation stuff to make sure it fits from that side. So a lot of trialing work there. Then a lot of work on figuring out fertility, figuring out how to grow here. What's the best steps to growing rye in Canada to be successful for growers? So we test a ton of varieties on the earlier stages and continue to test a ton of varieties on a year-to-year basis, making sure that we're finding stuff that's got really good winter hardiness, good vigor, really good yield packages, all that kind of stuff. So some of the learning lessons, I think, it's kind of a funny question because I think we're always learning, right? Like I don't think it ever stops. And I think that's the fun part about it is every year we seem to learn something new about rye, and it's our job to kind of inform our partners that we work with and the growers that we work with across Canada with that. So some of those things is fertility, making sure we get that fertility on early, that crown hits 0 degrees pretty early in the springtime. So we want to make sure that nitrogen and that fertility is available for that crop to uptake when it needs it to create yield. Otherwise, you're kind of putting it towards protein and other things that maybe don't benefit you in the rye world. Seeding dates, getting it earlier seeded. Rye does really well if you can get it seeded early, get it into a clean field, seed it early, get good growth. The hybrids really crawl across the ground and cover that ground. So the earlier you can get that growth in the fall time, choke out those weeds and stay out of that field. Stay out of that field come springtime. It helps, especially with ergot. I think the fun part with rye is ergot all the time, and people always have that question. And what we've learned over the last several years dealing with it is 10% is variety, 20% comes to what you're doing in that field. So you tracking through that field all the time in the springtime, and 70% is environment. And that's the big thing we can't control. So we do whatever we can and help our growers just understand what they can do to try and minimize those risks in growing rye.
Excellent. We've been having an ongoing conversation, us here at Farm Marketer, the Impact Farming Show, FP Genetics, about hybrid fall rye, and I'll link some of those below as well. There's a lot of excitement building around hybrid fall rye for various reasons. We're discussing them today. But one of the things I wanted to go a little bit deeper in is for people that are looking to try it, what agronomic support and solutions does FP Genetics offer growers?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a lot of different support options for growers. We've got a team that's very well versed in hybrid rye. We've got an extensive knowledge base with our team through our territory managers, myself leading the sales team, and then we've got our product specialists, which are new roles that we introduced to FP Genetics here in the last 6 weeks. And their role is primarily to work with farmers, independent agronomists, retails, and really provide that next level support. So between all those chains within our company. It's a resource that growers, retailers, agronomists can lean on and work with us in our knowledge and expertise in that. Some of the things we'll do, a part of our team is really help you identify that field. First off and foremost, what are the reasons you want to grow rye? Is it a time management thing? Is it a risk management thing? Are you coming up against, maybe dry or wet springs that you want to try and capitalize on that moisture in the spring, where you can't get into those fields in the spring, vice versa, right? So trying to figure out what the need is for and the want of them to want to grow rye, and then finding that solution for their farm. I think there's tons of varieties that fit. It's helping work with the better drained fields. With rye, the one thing with it is standing water in the springtime. It doesn't love it. So when you get into that freeze thaw cycle in the springtime, we want to pick those fields that are a little bit better drained and better suited for that. Um, Making sure we get the fertility down at the right time, seeding rates right. Emergence is a big thing with rye, so that uniformity of that crop is important. So that seeding depth, we don't want to chase moisture with rye. You want to make sure that you get that seed pretty uniform depth, half inch, three-quarters of an inch in the ground tops, but we don't want to chase that moisture with it. So tons of different things we can use from our experience dealing with tons of growers across Western Canada. So I encourage people to reach out and just chat with us about rye. The one thing too I just want to add is we created a product manual, kind of the best practices on how to grow rye. So it's a production manual for growers that we can get to them digitally or a physical copy, but it kind of answers 95% of those questions on what to do if I'm going to grow rye right from seeding it to harvest.
Excellent. I know people are excited and there are lots of questions, right? So we'll talk about that at the end, but maybe a quick question here. Do they connect via email? Is there a link that we can include for them to grab that brochure?
Yeah, so reach out. If you go to the fpgenetics.ca website, you can find any one of our territory managers. It'll link to our Fall Rye website, and then can get in contact with any one of the territory managers, product specialists, myself, and we'll be happily get you that production manual.
Okay, perfect. I figure I better ask it now as
Yeah.
well. Okay, so I know you touched on this early in the interview and our conversation here. I want to go a little bit deeper if you want to go here. How has FP Genetics helped open up these markets for hybrid fall rye? I think that's an important one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with rye, people are always looking at markets. I think a big one for us has been that distilling and milling market has been a pretty big one for us consistently across the prairies. We've seen the ethanol plants as well step up in some areas where you see rye going into the ethanol market a little bit as well. And then the big one's always been cover crops. Can we get these hybrid ryes into cover crops? And so we've worked really hard at that as a company. We're pretty proud to be the first company to really enter into that cover crop space with the hybrid ryes and really shape that path. And for us, it was all about making sure we could protect IP on these varieties. There's a lot of investment that goes into bringing these hybrid varieties here to Canada and making sure that they work for farmers for a really long time. So we've come up with a TruCover program. It's a closed loop program that we work with approved TruCover dealers here in Western Canada. And it's a closed loop system down to the US with approved buyers down there. So not a massive program at this point, but we're slowly building it. And I think we're building it the right way and building a lot of trust into the program. So pretty exciting for us and pretty exciting opportunity, I think, for growers as we move forward here with rye.
Okay, excellent. That's an important one. The next one I want to talk about too, I love this one, the nitty gritty. So let's really talk about some of the benefits of growing hybrid fall rye and what kind of success you've seen growers have on their farm.
Yeah, so rye is a great rotational crop. I think as we see farms get, larger and larger across, Western Canada and the world in general, it's a kind of a harvest management, seeding management tool. It's a risk management tool. It's a way for people to get some, farmers to get some acres in a little bit earlier, get harvest off a little bit earlier. So we're seeing some go that way for sure. Another thing is if I look a couple of years ago in Manitoba here in the Interlake, we had a really, really wet spring. And we had acres that we had a lot of acres that didn't get seeded that year. And some of those farmers up in the Interlake had some hybrid rye in that year. One grower specifically I can think of had around 600 acres, and that was all he had seeded that entire year because he couldn't touch the rest of his land. It was so wet. On that year, we had a good year with rye. It came off, I think it was around 110, 115 bushels, somewhere in there. So when you look at a year where you couldn't get on that ground because it was so wet, but you had something rooted and established and it was taking up that moisture and you had productive land that year because of that rye being in, I think that's something in some of those areas people are starting to look at. And on the flip side of that, we've got a lot of dry areas in the prairies as well. And we've been in some pretty dry cycles here the last 5 years. And being able to get a crop established in the fall time and get it rooted. Rye's got a very extensive root system, so it'll search for moisture. And with rye, getting it rooted and capitalizing on that spring moisture that you get in some of those dry areas is really nice. So works well for the wet areas, works well for the dry areas. So I think we're just seeing it as that risk management tool where people are going, hey, you know what? Maybe we should throw some of these acres of rye in, whether it's a quarter, 200 acres, whatever it might be.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for that. So how does hybrid fall rye fit? I'm trying to think of the best way I want to ask this. How does this fit into your broader portfolio at FP Genetics? I think that'd be the way I want to ask that.
Yeah, Yeah, so FP's it's a big company when it comes to what we offer, not just rye. Rye is a big part of our portfolio, and we've done a lot of work on hybrid rye. But we've also got, barley, wheat, oats, peas, flax, the lentils. We've got lots of different options. So I think the one thing we like with our territory managers and our approach as a sales team is let's sit down and find solutions for your farm. I think we've got options for all kinds of acres, whether it's dry, wetter areas, what's your soil type. I think that kind of stuff. Give us a call. We'd love to sit down, figure out how we can work with every acre on your farm and find those solutions that best suits you guys. And with rye, how it fits in is figuring out how we can whether it's following up peas, whether it's following up canola, finding those fields in advance, figuring out what we're going to put onto that field a year in advance so that we can follow up in a rye. So that wholesaler approach for us, we just love to sit down, have that conversation, learn about their operation, and see how we can work together to make it work really well with the rye.
I love that because there's so many varieties out there, right? And so many options. And you only
Yeah.
really get one shot. So let's do this right. Okay, this has been a great conversation. I love when you guys are on the show sharing great information for producers. If somebody's in the audience and they want to learn more, where is the best place to start? Website, call you guys?
Yeah, I think if you go to the website, fpgenetics.ca, that's the best place to start. It's got all of our varieties on there. It's got the links to the hybrid fall rye stuff, and it's got all of our contact information so you can reach out to any one of us via email or by phone as well. So fpgenetics.ca would be the way to go.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chad. It was so great having you back on the show talking about hybrid fall rye. So thank you. I appreciate your time. You guys in the audience, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, like it, share it, get it out there, and then other farmers can hear about the great benefits of hybrid fall rye. See you on the next one. Bye bye.